Hey everybody, so this is my Miro board, and first of all, the first question was, how will you commit to the cycle of questioning for your future classroom and why? So I have been through quality questioning training before with Jackie Walsh, and first I know that planning questions is essential to the questioning cycle. So looking forward to what topics we'll be learning about is very important, and discussing with your colleagues what questions to ask that students can respond to open-endedly is very important. And that isn't always easy because we're very busy during our planning time, but planning those questions for upcoming topics is very important so that your students have questions to respond to. And after committing to planning the questions, the next step is definitely reinforcing or enforcing the response structures that you put into place and the think time. So equitable participation is crucial here, and having that equity structure set in place is needed beforehand, such as equity sticks. So I have popsicle sticks that I choose from, so students know that their name can be pulled whenever, at whatever time, multiple times. And then allowing students to share with partners, and teaching and reinforcing the response structures and talk moves are super important to remember as well, so that we facilitate good learning, because speaking and listening is definitely important and students need to be able to learn from each other. The second question was, how will you use this rubric in designing lessons and assessments in future work? So I put some things that I make sure that I do. So I make sure that the questions relate to the learning target and are precise and basically answerable. Like, they should not be too lengthy. They should be able to be in response to with a sentence structure. And the next thing is to make sure that there's equitable participation measures in place, which would be your response structures and your equity sticks. If they're even not equity sticks, they could be something else. Next is to make sure that the question relates to the learning target for sure, and that students have all had the opportunity to learn about it, because you don't want a student to feel left out, that they don't know a certain response because they haven't learned it yet. So making sure that students have the opportunity. Next is that questions are posed after our original question, which would be think time 2, but they should build on the previous questions, and to make sure that, again, that they know what they're supposed to be thinking about, and at the cognitive level that you intended, and make sure that the students are able to respond appropriately with their response structures or maybe a sentence stem that they need. And I think that this goes with both things, that I always think about, or I will always think about, the different ways to ask questions that I ask, so that lessons are more meaningful and I can assess the learning target more accurately. The third question was, which response ideas most resonate with your teaching style? So these are the ones that I use right now. Our school uses them district wide. This is, I am thinking of what I want to say to you in response to your question. This on their chest means that I have a response. I've already thought about it. This, they raise their hand. It means they have a question. This, they point to their brain, and it means that they disagree with what somebody else said. And this means that they agree with what somebody else said. And those really work well, and they've picked up on those very easily, yet sometimes they do raise their hand whenever they want to respond. And I feel like this is the most important one, is think time 1 and think time 2. First of all, think time 1 is very impactful because students are responsible for thinking, all students, and so students need to understand the question, and students need to understand that everyone thinks and responds at different times. And so students need to know how to show a response, and why they need to know why the structure is in place. They need to know that, we put this on our chest because we don't want to make somebody else feel like they have to have a response right now. And think time 2, students need to know how to be a good listener so that they can think about what someone else said. Students need to think with intent and think about other responses. And students need time to process what somebody else said. Students need to know response structures for agree, disagree, or have a question. And think time 2 impacts student learning because they must learn from one another. That's very important.